Hello YouTube, it's Caroline again. Today I'd like to do a book lover's gift guide for the holiday season. I guess it can be a tag if anyone else is interested in doing this. So I've got my lovely stack of books over here. I don't have all of them on me. Some of them I've already read and sent home, or I've lent to people or whatever. I live in a dorm, so I don't have very many books with me. The first book I want to talk about, I don't have on me. I have The Dust Jacket. This is my book recommendation for YA lovers and teens, but you definitely don't have to be a teen to like it. My mom since read this and liked it. And it's Scott Westerfeld, Afterworlds. So Afterworlds is a really interesting book. It alternates chapters, and I didn't quite figure out exactly what the alternation was right away. You figure it out pretty quickly, but it was kind of interesting. I really liked the way he did this. I liked all of his other books, so it shouldn't be a surprise. On the back it just says, "More than all I'd seen and heard, it was coming back to life that made me believe in the afterworld." And this was a really interesting book. I think people who enjoy YA writing style, the kind of style that isn't too hard to digest, but it really makes you want to read it quickly. I read this book in one day, even though it's a very thick book. It was a birthday present from my mom's boyfriend. Hi Lewis, thank you, I liked that book. The next book in my stack of books is Amy Poehler's Yes Please. This is another very recent book. It came out only in October. I'm recommending this book to anyone who is in a book club and their book club's looking for a new book to do. I know it's a stereotype, but that tends to be people like my aunts in a book club. Older woman, a lot of housewife kind of people who they just get together and they talk about their books over a couple glasses of wine. I think that they in specific will like this book because it talks briefly about things like divorce, which they might be going through, and she's getting up there. She's not old, but she's 40 or something, so they might relate a lot more to her life than I would, but it's funny, and I think a lot of people would like this book, especially if you liked other books like Tina Fey's Bossy Pants. So this is my book club recommendation. The next one is for the collector. I got this cute little edition of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I actually got this book for about $4 at a local bookstore, but it's a collector's edition or a UK version. It's something that you can't normally find here. I have a friend who loves Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and so I think anyone who collects books would like to have some sort of book like this that might be a little harder to get your hands on. The next book to recommend would be A Book to Your Mom. This can be whatever your mom might like. I give my mom pretty much all of the books once I've read them to read anything that I think she might like. So for her, I probably wouldn't buy a book unless there's something I know in particular that she wants, because she reads all the books that I read, and like I always ask her if she's interested in reading them and let her if she is. So the next book is the one for your brother or sister. Again, a kind of a younger, not young, but like a YA type age. My brother and I in particular are huge nerds, so I think he would really like Ready Player One. There's no way in hell he's watching this video, but this is actually what I'm going to get him for Christmas, a nice copy of Ready Player One. There's it's a dystopian book with a lot of nerdy references from the time we're in now, things like Star Wars and Star Trek and various video games that exist now. So it's a little bit in the future. It takes place in year 2044. But all the references are things that my generation might get, so I think my brother would really like this. The next would be for the hopeless romantic, and there's two that I'm recommending for this, and I don't have either of them. I'm going to show you Rainbow Rowell's Fangirl, because one of them that I recommend is Eleanor and Park, which is also by Rainbow Rowell, and I think a hopeless romantic or someone who likes romance novels would like that. But again, I think a lot of people would like that, especially people that are younger people. She's definitely a YA writer. A lot of my books are YA. I'm only 22 years old, so it's kind of still my age range. But I think that a lot of people would like Eleanor and Park. I think some older people who like that would get a lot more of the references from the 80s and stuff. My mom liked it because she got a lot of the references that I might not, or it might make them nostalgic. But people my age would like it because of the way it's written and because just the general story in general. And the other one I want to recommend is Will Grayson, Will Grayson. And I know that's a style of writing that a lot of people don't like, especially a lot of people that are a little older than me can't relate to it anymore, so they might not like it. But for the hopeless romantic in my friend circle, I would definitely recommend that, especially if they're LGBT friendly, because it relates to LGBT. And I'm really excited for the musical that David Levithan is writing for. It's a musical book, not a musical play. And I think that will be really cool, and I'm excited for that. But they're both kind of uplifting stories. They have some hard aspects, but I would definitely recommend those for people who like love stories. The next thing I'm going to recommend is for my dad. Now, I'm not actually getting him a book, but if my dad did want books, this is the one that I would give him that I have. It's called Lexicon, and it's definitely a thriller, and I think that's kind of a dad thing to like. Like, my dad loves things like Stephen King and whatever, but this is what I would recommend for a dad. Now, the last book that I actually have here is what I'm going to recommend for someone who maybe isn't a huge reader. They like things that they can finish in one sitting. This is kind of a big book, so it's not I'm going to read it in one sitting book, but it's short stories. I think there's like 6 or 7 short stories in here maybe, I'm not entirely sure. It's supernatural, obviously. It's called Unnatural Creatures, so it's things that don't exist. But I think that people who maybe like to read but they aren't an avid reader would like this. I have 2 more categories that I want to recommend. One is for the non-reader, which for me, I mostly give non-reader friends who want books. I give them cookbooks, or I give them a specific book that relates to something. So if they like video games, then maybe a video game manual, or if they like makeup, like a makeup artist book written by a makeup artist. But I definitely fall back on the cookbooks, and all of my cookbooks are at home. I don't have a kitchen here, so I don't have anything to show you for this. And the last thing I want to recommend is the gift you can give to anyone, and that's Jim Butcher. Now, it shouldn't surprise anyone that I love Jim Butcher's books, but specifically, I would give these to anyone because a lot of non-readers like them. They're funny enough to keep them interested. I think no matter what genre you like, you'd like them, because he is definitely the king of urban fantasy. So there's some humor, some sarcastic, witty, punny humor. There's a love interest at one point, and it kind of tackles everything. I think younger people would like it because of the humor aspects, and I know older people like it, like my mom and my aunt like those books. My aunt, from the description, actually didn't think she would. She likes more realistic books, but then she read the first one and she was like, thank God you have the entire series, Caroline. I can't stop reading these. So Jim Butcher is definitely a good one for pretty much everyone. I don't know anyone who didn't like them. Even people that are friends of mine and don't read would read those books if they wanted to read for whatever reason.